Welcome to 5 Minutes With. Today we have Professor of Geography, Päivi Lujala. Päivi, welcome and thank you for joining us here.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to join you here today.
Shall we start by talking about your research, what you're currently working on and how that might be interesting to our audience?
Sure. So I'm working with many things, but one of the most interesting thing that I'm working right now is with climate migration, which is quite a new project. Well, it's not that new any longer. I have been working on this for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the most interesting things that I'm doing right now, research on.
Yeah, and that tackles, the current global challenges regarding globalization and climate change, right?
Exactly, and we have to remember that although, well, I'm talking about the climate migration, but what we actually are talking about is environmental migration, because climate change and biodiversity loss and other changes in the environment they are not like separate things, but they're intertwined in many different ways. They compound each other, they feed to each other. So what we really actually are looking at is environmental migration.
Yeah.
And what we are looking at there is what I'm interested in is the within country migration. So I'm not so much interested in the cross-border migration or migrants coming to Europe, but it's more about where the most of climate migration, environmental migration is going to happen. It's going to be inside countries, within countries. So that's what I'm interested in, and I'm interested in people's decision about whether they want to stay or whether they want to move, and what are the drivers, because of course environmental change is not, it's only one thing among many things.
Yeah.
So that decision is what we're interested in, but as well we try to figure out that if this type of migration happens in the large scale, and people cannot really go, for example, to their families, extended families, so what would be the best places for them to go? And so that's another thing. And then what we think is really, really important and a little bit overlooked for time being is how these migrants are then received by the host communities. So that's kind of the third thing that we are interested in.
Yeah. And that's really important as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you tell us maybe a little bit more of one specific episode that you remember from your fieldwork that you think might be interesting for the audience?
Perhaps not from the fieldwork. I have been doing fieldwork, but from the findings, I think one of the most interesting finding now that was on the host community side, we were trying to figure out who are the most willing to welcome short distance climate migrants that happened that was in Bangladesh. And what we found that of people, those that were the poorest and least educated were those that were most welcoming to climate migration.
Really interesting, yes. Now, you already hinted a little bit at how your work and research is connected to also the goals of the Biodiverse Anthropocenes program, but maybe can you make that connection a little bit more clearly for us?
Sure. So what I think is keeping in mind here that we have this environmental side, so we have the climate change and the biodiversity loss, so those are already intertwined. But then the other side, we have the society, where development and equity and dignity are very important things, and somehow we have to combine these things. So how can we ensure that because what we need to do is, of course, ensure development for all people and equity between people in different countries, across generations, and then within countries. And then, for example, in case of the migration, so if people have to move, so they have to be able to move with dignity. And then we have to combine all these things. And I think that goes very in the heart of the program.
Absolutely, yes. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to add about your work and your research group as well?
Well, if I have to add one thing, so I think I have been so privileged with my research. I have met so many wonderful people, be they students, my colleagues or team members, people in the field who have invited me to their homes and shared their information, their way of life. So I think in many ways I'm in very privileged position.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching, and let's meet next time.